Hey, this is Notser, and we're taking a look at the public test server. This is 7.10. This is, I think, test 2, final test, whatever. I wanted to take a look at the 5 ships that Wargaming wants the CCs to tease. I can't play them. With the final version of 7.10 on the public test server, they updated the stats, and I think these are going to be the stats that are final before the CCs and super testers get a chance to play them on the live client whenever 7.10 comes out. This is not the absolute final version of the ship. This is going to be the first version that you'll see in probably a video by other CCs and myself. So I just wanted to talk about them and ask your thoughts and which one you want to see first as a video. And maybe there's going to be a nice discussion on what you like or dislike about each ship. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. For the first ship, we've got the Charleston. Now, the Charleston is a premium St. Louis, the Tier 3 American cruiser. And it pretty much is a premium St. Louis. It's got the same hit points, same sort of gun system, same sort of secondary, almost the exact same range. I think it's 100 meters less. Same sort of AA protection, which is none. Same speed, 22 knots-ish. Very slow. It's basically a battleship with cruiser guns. And the detectability is the one thing where it is better. But it's a premium St. Louis. And this will be appealing to players who enjoy the St. Louis. It's a Tier 3, though. It's not going to be something that, blows the doors off of the game. But those of us who enjoyed the St. Louis and would like a premium and a pretty cheap premium, this is a nice route to go. The premium camouflage is just a nice blue. Looks fine to me. No issue with it. Moving on. We're up to the Dreadnought. Now, this one will probably be sold primarily for its historical significance. Collectors will enjoy it, but what ship are we getting if we are one of those who appreciate what it means in history? Well, we're getting a ship that, honestly, the model looks very good. I like the rigging. I like how it rolls off. The camouflage is simple. Yeah, that's the camo without it. That's the camo on. It's the same color as the hull. Unfortunate. It's sort of like the hood, and as you'll see, it's going to be the similar state for West Virginia, but 37,400 hit points. 13% torpedo protection, which is, nothing, but it's a Tier 3, who cares? 10 305mm guns. You can only use 8 at any given moment because you've got 2 gun turrets that are, one's on the port, one's on the starboard, so if you fire from the port, you can only use the port. Starboard, you get the idea. No AA protection whatsoever. No secondary range to encourage brawling, which I don't blame it. 13.7 kilometer artillery is a little shallow. But that's not a big deal, and you'll see in a little bit. The speed, 19 knots. It's not fast at all. Turn circle, outstanding. And the rudder shift is pretty good for a battleship. But look at that concealment. 8.6 kilometers. The only other battleship that's even remotely in this ballpark is, I think, the Kawachi for the Japanese. Now let's look at the Kawachi. Yeah, the Kawachi is definitely in the ballpark, but the Kawachi also has terrible gun range too, right? It has 10.9 kilometers. So I think the Dreadnought will be something that's intriguing. It's premium, so you'll be able to use your high-skilled commander freely, but I don't know that it's going to blow the doors off of the game and just be a mandatory take. It'll be something cool to collect and to play every once in a while and to compare to other battleships that copied the Dreadnought, but I'm not too concerned about it. At Tier 6, we've got the West Virginia. Now, one thing that is not going to be the case in 7.10 on the live client, the West Virginia is going to get a different name. Now, it's not getting anything like Maryland. It's going to be named West Virginia 41, demarking 1941's version of West Virginia. And the reason they're doing this is because at some point in the distant future, they're going to be launching West Virginia 44, which is an updated, as if the West Virginia wasn't in Pearl Harbor. This is what the refit would be. People are clamoring for it. Wargaming thinks it's exciting. but they've got to basically redo from scratch the entire ship into its 44 refit. So yeah, it's not going to be for a while. But this 41 version has 50,000 hit points, which is almost the least amount of hit points at tier 6 for battleships. Not quite. It's better than 1 or 2, but worse than everything else. 37% torpedo protection. You can see the torpedo bulge. It's pretty significant. Now, unlike another ship that we're going to be talking about, it doesn't really have a weakness highlighted by that bulge. Oh yeah, and the Dreadnought armor, basically non-existent. It has a very weird amount of armor at the waterline all across. And the Citadel is incredibly weird in its shape. But again, it's a tier 3. It's not a very big deal. But the West Virginia has 25 millimeters all over the ship. Vulnerable to high explosive for sure. The waterline has 343 millimeters. And the Citadel is basically at the waterline. Maybe a little bit below it. It should be vulnerable to Citadels at medium and long range. But outside that, not consistently. It's got 8 406mm guns, which is huge at tier 6. I think the only ship that has a bigger gun caliber is a down-tier Japanese. That's 410 or something like that. So it's absolutely a giant gun caliber, and it traverses really well. 45-second default. I've got it improved to 38.3 because of my commander. Reload is 30 seconds, which is okay. I don't have any issue with that. Secondary guns, not good. Not good for brawling, for sure. You would never do that. 16.1 base range. You can extend that with the module for the Americans, the artillery plotting room. You can't improve the accuracy because it is an American battleship. You have to get to tier 9 and 10 for that. AA guns are okay. You could use manual AA and basically triple your DPS output. But outside of that, yeah, it's not spectacular for the 41. Speed, 21 knots, incredibly slow. Oh, man. Turn radius, right where I expected. Rudder shift, right where I expected. Concealment. That is not what I expected. 10.4 kilometers. And you can see, it's not like it's a tier 8 that somehow got access to the module for concealment. No, this is quite literally from the commander and the camouflage. And speaking of the camouflage, its camouflage is base hull. There's nothing spectacular about that camo. But 10.4 kilometers. That is better than every single battleship at tier 6. That is better than every single heavy cruiser at tier 6. The only ships that are even close are light cruisers in concealment. Just absolutely ridiculous concealment for 8 406mm guns. I am envisioning a scenario where I'm slowly sailing towards the enemy. They obviously sail faster into me. They accidentally bump into me, and I quite nobly shove 8 406mm guns into their hull and wipe them out without ever seeing me. Yeah, the Leander is basically the only ship that's going to have better concealment. And obviously DDs. Goes without saying, I hope. But yeah, the concealment is just ridiculous. I mean, there are battleships that have 7 or 8 kilometers worse concealment at this tier. Fuso, 18.9. Just absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to expect that number's going to change for the West Virginia. But hey, the first version for testing, I'm excited to just try it out. Clearly, I don't think that lasts, but you know, maybe we can have fun with it in a video and see how well it performs. At tier 8, we've got the Wichita. The Wichita is a heavy cruiser, a premium heavy cruiser for the Americans. Thank you. I can't tell you how frustrating the Indianapolis was for me. It's just so vulnerable. Terrible concealment, you know, range isn't that good. The Citadel's on the outside of the ship. Indianapolis was not ideal. but this looks very intriguing. Now, I do have all the concealment modules, commander skill, camouflage. Obviously, you can see the camouflage on the ship. And that will be a very interesting number, the concealment. Hit points, 37,900. Honestly, on the low side for a heavy cruiser, but it's about where light cruisers are. 4% torpedo protection. Don't even know why you would mention 4%. I think that's within margin of error, or rounding for the damage, but, whatever. Main battery, this was the part of it that was kind of confusing. It had 15 seconds or 13 seconds or 12 seconds listed in the first version. This is 10 seconds. This is the version that we will be testing. It has the same reload as the Baltimore, which is cool. It has about the same gun range as the Baltimore, which is cool. Its AA system is, evenly distributed. It's cool and no issue at all. It can definitely perform as a cruiser for anti-air. No issue at all. Maximum speed, 33.6. That is without signal flags. I know that's a weird number. With signal flags, it's 35.3 knots in the water. 680 meters for the circle, the turning circle, which is nice. The rudder is outstanding. 7.6. That is not with the faster steering gear, so you could absolutely leverage that further. But look at the concealment. 8.7 kilometers. Is this like concealment central? Every single ship has been at or near the top end concealment. Wargaming, are we just introducing ships that are better concealed than ships previously? I don't know what's going on. It is a smaller ship than the Baltimore. Here, we'll check out the Baltimore here real quick. And yeah, clearly much better concealment than the Baltimore. Even with your concealment system and a commander, you can't get 8.7. There's no way. But let's look at the armor. One of the other concerns that was a part of the previous iteration of this public test server was it had, I think, 25 millimeter armor, which was not enough to stop 380 millimeter guns. It was incredibly mediocre at this tier. But no longer. We have 27 millimeters all around the ship. Very vulnerable to high explosive. And it does have its Citadel sitting outside of the ship at only 152 millimeters. So light cruisers are going to love shooting the side of your ship. Everyone's going to love shooting the side of your ship, let's be honest. But it is great that they upped it to 27. This is going to be a very exciting ship for me. This is the ship I want to play. I don't want to influence your comments. Leave in the comments which ship you think is the most intriguing for me to cover first, but I'm very intrigued by this concealment. It does have radar. Radar for the Baltimore is 9 kilometers. If this is 9 kilometers, then they're just breaking their rule that they just instituted for the Seattle and the Worcester. But they're not. Thankfully, they dropped it to 8.5. So there is 200 meters, 200 magical meters where the DDs can realize, oh crap, I'm about to be radared. I appreciate that, Wargaming. You can't equip a scout aircraft. You can use a catapult fighter, though. And you can choose between defensive and hydroacoustic for the other slot. Now, the Wichita is not the final ship, but it's certainly the most exciting for me. Let's get to the probably the most controversial ship, the Vanguard. Now, this ship, what is there to say about the Vanguard? I think it's the last official British battleship that was built and saw action. It is famous for that reason alone. People are very excited to play it. It has a lot of hit points for this tier of battleship. I think only like 2 battleships have more. Most battleships at this tier have less, though. We've got torpedo protection of 25%, which is okay. It's not spectacular. The main battery is 8 381 millimeter guns. The previous version, the Turtreverse, was just terrible. It's now 45 seconds base, which is appreciated. 28-second reload. It can't brawl for multiple reasons, but it doesn't have secondary range to brawl. AA guns are pretty good. Long range is mediocre, but the medium aura is outstanding. The maximum speed of the ship, 30 knots. Just fine. The turning circle is rather large. Rudder shift is mediocre. The concealment is 11.1, which is outstanding. I do have the concealment module, concealment skill, and of course you can see the camouflage is equipped. But that's not the biggest concern. That's never been the biggest concern. The biggest concern lies in the armor. So it's going to have 32 millimeters all around the ship. Everywhere on the ship, 32, so vulnerable to high explosive. But that's not what it's really vulnerable to. Its Citadel is on the outside of the ship at a measly 343 millimeters in the center section, 356 under the gun turrets. This ship is going to consume AP every game, always, Citadel after Citadel. It's ridiculous how tall this Citadel is in the water. Look at this. So you see where the Citadel is marked here. Let's go to ocean for this. Look at the Citadel. Okay, so we see how high it is in the water. Let me turn this off. Oh, what is that? It looks like the Citadel is conveniently highlighted by the torpedo bulge. The way it's the geometry hits, it sort of has a barrier of highlight. No matter the angle that you just, as long as you shoot in this area, you will always penetrate the Citadel. I definitely want to test this. I know it will change. It has to. I'm envisioning 4, 5, 6 Citadels just blapping this out of existence in one salvo. Oh, it's gonna be so exciting. But I do it for you. I do it for you. I think everyone will laugh at the at least impression video that this can build. But I don't think they'll be laughing if they don't change this in the future. And I think they should, obviously. Unfortunately for Wargaming, though, it takes them time to remodel the Citadel geometry, too. So I think what they intend to do is they want to see how it will test initially. And then if it's just so egregious, I think they'll go back and they'll tweak this. Maybe they'll set the Citadel at the same height as the 4-in armor belt. They haven't confirmed that they would do that, but I think it's pretty obvious that they will have to do something like that. It's just going to eat Citadels for breakfast. I don't know, maybe they make the repair party repair 100% of the Citadel. I have no idea. It's going to be interesting. If for no other reason, then I'm going to take a lot of damage. And I can't wait. I'm very excited for the Wichita. Wichita is my number 1. West Virginia is my number 2. Vanguard is my number 3, just because it's hilarious how bad the armor is. And then the Dreadnought and the Charleston. I hope you'll join me. Leave in the comments which one you want to see when 7.10 and when they actually give these ships to me. So the way Wargaming works is 7.10 launches, and then they decide in their own sweet time which ships they want to give to the CCs to test and which to not have testing. We could be waiting 2 or 3 patches before we actually test the Vanguard. I just want you to know that this is the first version that will be tested, unless something is just discovered before testing. I really want to try the Vanguard. Oh, it's going to be bad. But this video was not. Tell me what you thought of each one. Which one are you excited for? Which one are you not excited for? Which one are you excited to see me suffer in? And I'm absolutely excited to play some of these ships. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you next time.